I was out potting on my tomato seedlings today and I realised two things. One, I don't have enough potting mix, and two, I've run out of a whole lot of my natural amendments that I usually use for fertilising my tomatoes and some of my other plants in the vegetable garden. So I'm going to do a series on all the natural fertilisers that I make, and so the very first one I'm going to make today is particularly fantastic for tomatoes. It's really high in calcium and magnesium and a few other of those minerals that the tomatoes really need. One, to grow really well, and two, to taste fantastic. If your tomato plants don't have enough of these minerals, they'll taste kind of insipid and pathetic. They'll have a lower immune system and you're going to struggle with what's known as blossom end rot. Blossom end rot is not enough calcium for the plant, and it's not actually necessarily that you don't have enough calcium in the soil, but either you don't have the biology or the pH is wrong so that the plants aren't able to access it. But a way to get around all of those things is to foliar, I don't know how to say that word, spray the leaves to feed the plant. Adding natural fertilizers to the soil doesn't actually feed the plants directly. The magic of nature, the plants actually work and live in symbiosis with the bacteria and fungi that are in the soil. Commercially bought formulas are usually salt-based and they force the plant to soak them up, and it basically bypasses that natural pathway where the plants work with the biota that are in the soil. So what happens usually is the plant will get the energy from the sun and turn it into sugar. It pushes it out through its root, the fungi and the bacteria to know what they need, and so they will bring those back, and in exchange for the starch they will swap the minerals and the other nutrients that the plants need. Another way plants can absorb their nutrients is through the little stoma on their leaves. Stoma just means hole. The plants have little holes on the bottoms of their leaves that are particularly open overnight and very first thing in the morning, and they can actually absorb nutrients through those. So it's a good idea to, once a week or so, spray some nutrition, particularly on those plants that are really high demand, like your tomatoes or peppers and anything else that's known to be a really high feeder. So this calcium one is incredibly easy to make. If you have access to eggshells and some vinegar, you can make it yourself. All you need to do is make sure your eggshells are relatively clean. To be honest, I haven't done anything more than wash these, and they do still have a little bit of the egg white on them because the children aren't so great at peeling the boiled eggs when they want to eat them. So all I've done is crush them up and then put them in this jar, and then I'm going to add this apple cider vinegar, just enough to sort of cover it. Ideally I would have more eggshells in here, but for demonstration purposes this is what I have, and I will add to this tonight when we peel some more eggs. This is some apple cider vinegar that I made, and I made it at the end of our summer, so probably about 5 or 6 months ago, and so I have just checked with a pH strip that it is actually vinegar now, and its pH is between 3 and 4, so I'm going to go ahead and use it, and all you need to do is pour some in here, and then as it will start to react, it will dissolve the calcium out of the eggshells and put it into the liquid. These little floaty bits in the vinegar are just some calm yeast from the process of making the vinegar, and they're nothing to worry about. They've just managed to seep through my strainer when I've strained this vinegar. So you can set it aside for a week or so. If it goes longer than that, it's not a big deal, but it needs at least a week to start to extract that calcium, and the eggshells will slowly break down and get softer and softer and more brittle. At the end of that time, all you need to do is strain it out and put it into a little jar like this. And then to use it, you only need a tiny bit in your backpack sprayer when you're spraying all your plants down. This you can add into whatever else it is that you're choosing to feed your plants when you're doing it. Once a week or twice a week is usually plenty, and just make sure it's set on a really, really fine mist. The finer you can get those particles, the more likely the plant is to pick them up. Jarred up like this, the minerals will not degrade, so it will be fine to stay like this for a really long time. Once you've made a batch of it, you can just work your way through it as you need to. It doesn't need kept in the fridge or anything. Mine just lives out in the tunnel house next to the tomatoes so that I remember to actually use it. And dosing wise, I usually put in about 5 to 10 mils into a 4 litre backpack sprayer. So 1 gallon, and that's 1 to 2 teaspoons. Is 5 to 10 mils. So it's a really small amount, but it's quite high in these minerals that your plants need. And because you're doing it regularly, it will be enough to get around any problems that you have with blossom end rot. If your fruit already have blossom end rot, you need to pull those fruit off and get them out. It's a fungal infection that the plant is struggling to fight off. So take them off the plant as soon as you notice it and get them out of your tomato patch. Preferably burn them, if not bury them somewhere that is far away from your tomatoes. And once your plants are getting enough calcium, you'll find that the blossom end rot stops happening. I hope you found this helpful. Keep an eye out for the up and coming videos, more on making your own for free fertilizers at home, and I will see you in the next one.